Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us with Voice Acting with the Pros. So you guys ready? Are you sure? Are you sure? I love it. Thank you for the energy. So, the next voice actor I will bring out is Mark Meer. He's known for his Mass Effect character, Shepard.
Hello.
The next person I'll bring out is LoCasico.
Hi. I couldn't get out of that curtain.
Next is Cherami Leigh. And next is Michalka. So, for everyone in the audience who may or may not know you, can you guys give us like a background of, the characters you play, who you are, and how did you get started?
Well, I'm best known for my work as Noel number 2 in Baldur's Gate. But I also do the voice of Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect trilogy. And various aliens and whatnot. And I'm in a lot of the other BioWare games, Dungeons & Dragons stuff that Beam Dog puts out. I'm a voice actor in video games. Hello.
Wow. Let's see. I'm best known as Prince Lotor on Voltron. And James Griffin also in Voltron. Marty McFly in Back to the Future. I did Thump and Dawn of the Crudes, and I do Han Solo sometimes.
Hey guys, I do a lot of work for video games and anime. I'm Sailor Venus in Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon. And Sword Art Online. And I worked on Call of Duty World War II, Horizon Zero Dawn, King's Quest, Borderlands 2, Persona 5, Nier, some other fun stuff.
Hey guys, I'm probably the newest on this panel of voice acting. I only started a couple years ago, and the first thing that I dove into was Stefani on Steven Universe. And now I'm the voice of Tetra on She-Ra. The end.
So we know that voice acting is acting. How do you, get into character, and how do you embody that character? Not only through doing the voice, but your actions as well, to make sure that the character you portray comes through to the audience.
I'm pretty notorious for doing a lot of acting in the booth and gesticulating, and I've been told by technicians several times, you don't need to wave your arms around like that. We can actually, you're waving them around so hard we can hear the wind from them. But yeah, I do tend to physically get into the role as well, and then having watched video of myself in the booth later on, I'm terribly embarrassed.
Yeah, same. I mean, the amount of movement I do, and it's unnecessary movement. It feels necessary to us in our bodies when we're doing, it could be a very simple scene and I'm moving my hand a lot just to hit the words. It's almost like when you watch someone do scat or something, And if I'm doing a voice match, like if I do Michael J. Fox or something, I do a lot of his motions, and there's sort of that kind of weird face, he makes a lot of wide-eyed stuff when he's talking, or Harrison Ford does a lot of pointing, so there's a lot of that, which is entirely unnecessary.
I just realized Harrison Ford sounds a bit like Doc Brown.
Callista. That's his wife, that's an obscure. But yeah, he does sometimes, especially nowadays.
I don't know, I think when I started acting, I got into the industry just because I wanted to be on Barney, so I didn't get into to be a voice actor. It was just acting and learning a character and just creating a character came first. So for me, creating a character, the breakdown is what's most important. What has the writer created thus far for their backstory? and then what are the lines, what is the scene, who am I talking to, and then I just kind of get lost in the scene. And like you guys said, if I in film with what happens in the booth, it's always very awkward, especially if there's fighting reactions. This is not normal. I don't know about you, but as a girl, I did not grow up making crazy fighting reactions, just like, no, on the playground. And now getting used to that was a very weird adjustment. And anytime they're like, what do you do behind the scenes stuff? You're like, yeah, I feel so cool getting to have these great fight scenes. And you look at yourself and you go, I look so awkward. I cannot take this out on the street. I will be attacked and made fun of. So that's what sounds like.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important to bring as much physical work as you can into the booth, because that is kind of what's driving the underbelly of the scene. I mean, yes, as much as you obviously can't make too much noise due to the sensitivity of the mic, it's important that as actors we're able to kind of feel as free as possible in there, and that's our time to like let loose. Like I've many times just on She-Ra, I've gotten really emotional in the booth, and when there's a confrontation between Catcher and She-Ra, I just start crying. So a lot of times the work is kind of written for you, and beyond that, it's really just a treasure beyond that. I mean, it just kind of flies. When there's something really emotional, it just ends up becoming an emotional reaction. It's just natural.
Thank you. So you mentioned, AJM, about how to bring emotion, and Cherami, you mentioned awkwardness. Do you bring like your experience into the character to bring it the authenticity to it?
I mean, I think you don't have a choice. The life experiences that we have when I audition, if I audition for a role and I feel like, man, this is totally the right role for me, and I don't get the job, and I see he did get the job, I go, no, they took it in a different direction, and our life experiences inform us as human beings, which in turn informs our choices as actors. So I don't think there's I don't have a choice. My life experiences definitely inform how I respond in a scene, even though I'm playing a different character. I agree, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, there was plenty of scenes where my character in Voltron is very mad at his father, and it didn't take a lot. So I love my dad, but yeah, no, definitely there were moments where, it doesn't, for certain scenes, for certain emotions, it's right there at the surface, and it's like, oh, cool, I could just unleash this on a microphone as opposed to another person. So.
It's also really cool when we're, just to add on to that, when we're in group sessions, as you know, that it's so collaborative. So it's so much more fun for me to be in a group session in a fighting scene with my other castmates than just being alone. And for instance, when doing Stevani, like, I kind of had to create a voice that was very much emerged between Stephen and Connie. So at that point, we're kind of action shopping with other actors. I'm learning how Connie speaks, I'm learning how Stephen laughs, I'm learning how they cry, and then I'm blending the two and creating, that into one character. But I think it's really important that as actors, we can look at other actors for inspiration, action shopping, just a collaborative effort, and that's when a group session is the most fun.
Yeah, the group session, I always envy folks who work in animation for that, because in video games we very rarely get to be in the same room as our fellow actors. And even when we're not separated, in different cities or in different continents, I know that Seth Green and Tricia Helfer, for example, they were at the same studio for recording Edie and Joker's bits, but they never recorded together. They would just be, sitting in the waiting room. It's like, my turn. It's like, okay, see you later. And then you go in and do your bit. BioWare, however, did bring in a system called Veda, where is a proprietary system, and they essentially fire the other person's performance in your cans while you're acting. So that does give the advantage of not just acting into a vacuum.
Sounded dirty.
Yes. Don't Google that.
That's really cool. I love that. It's called Veda?
Veda, yeah. It's the acronym actually spells DADER, but somebody owns the copyright to that word. I don't know, some little company. So they called it Veda instead.
Google that, my Droid phone. Thank you.
What does it mean to be a professional voice actor to you in this industry?
Stacks of fat cash.
Boom!
I'd say that voice acting is getting probably the most respect it's ever received in the history of the profession. And so that's great. I got into it at just the right time, it seems. But a lot of the time, voice actors were laboring in obscurity. They were working very much behind the scenes, and only extremely dedicated fans knew, even like giants, like say Mel Blanc or whatnot. So these days, people are much more interested in the people who are doing the voice acting. And obviously, I think that's great.
To me, it's pretty insane. That's what it means to me. Because I went to school for film, I would act in friends' things, and I always liked acting, but I thought it was kind of like impossible. My family would always be like, you'll be a loser if you try to do acting. So I really took that to heart, and I never really pursued it. And then I auditioned for the Back to the Future game on a whim. I just called them and left a message as Marty McFly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and so that's what got me into it. And it was just this fluke thing. And I mean, it's insane. I would never guess in a million years that I'd be doing that, because I, such a big Mel Blanc fan, and seeing all that stuff, I was like, wow, people do this for a living? How? So it's crazy. It's surreal to me.
Surreal is a really great word for it. I've been acting since I was a kid. Like I said, you kind of fell into the path of voiceover. I think when you're an actor, especially living in LA, so many people are working towards the path of being an actor, and people say, oh, you're just an actor, and so you kind of go, yeah, I've done some things, and then when people say, oh, wait, I know that, it's like, what? The thing that I was in, that's crazy, thank you, that's so nice. So that never gets old, and it never gets any less surprising that people actually watch what we work on, especially now when there's so much content and there's so many choices. And like you said, with voice actors getting recognition now, I think that's largely because of you guys and conventions, that you guys care to come to a panel and you guys care to support the work and shout out on your Twitter or your Facebook, like, hey, check out this person, they're working on this project, we're working on this project. And so it's really lovely. I think voice acting specifically, I felt really embraced by this community. It's a bunch of people that just love to work and want to support each other, and that's fantastic in such a competitive industry. So I love it.
That's really sweet. That's beautiful. I kind of feel like career-wise, it's similar. Like I started acting in live action stuff at a really young age, 10, 11 years old, and then the voiceover thing really only started a few years ago for me, because it was something that was a passion that had kind of been something that I exercised a little bit, but I also knew it was very competitive in the sense that it was really hard to kind of break through. And then, at one point there is that one moment where it's like you're really right for something, and I do believe that kind of leads to the next job. So for me, I'm still so new to this, but the coolest thing that it's brought me is things like this. The amount of fans you meet based on a cartoon is so much more extensive than fans you meet based on maybe a live action comedy that you're on. Like I happen to be on a show on NBC, but when I come to these things, more people care about Catcher and Stevani than they do about that. So it's really interesting. Like I have been able to meet so many people that really care about these cartoons that they either grown up with or they're just introducing into their life for the first time. And hopefully that's something they can pass down to their kids. That's kind of the coolest thing about cartoon work.
Thank you. I have 2 questions before we start going into Q&A. So I have a conversation with Richard Horzig, and he always gives me a quote. I want to know what quote has influenced your career in your life and a mentor. And the quote is, before you act, remember to play, so that when you act, you play the day away.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
It's hard to come up with a quote on the spot.
I'm like, can I start Googling things?
Yeah.
I love quotes so much. For the last 3 years, I had a friend of mine who started an app, and he said, I want to get voice actors to create a show that they want to do. And so for me, being in this industry growing up, it is such a tough industry. You receive rejection every day. And so my mom would always tell me that I need to find a way to be grateful even when somebody's shutting me down for a job, otherwise I have to get out of the business. So I would always look up quotes or have positive affirmations. So to pick one is impossible, because now I hoard quotes. It's all over my house. I have so many affirmation calendars every day. I will text, if I find a really fun quote, I'll text one to my friend. I have things in my car if I'm stuck in traffic and I'm running late for a session. I'm like, I'm gonna get fired. Why didn't I leave earlier? Why is there a wreck on the road? And then I like open up this little random quote and it's like, you're exactly where you need to be. Just trust in the journey. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. Oh, boss. You might not get fired from this job. It's really hard to pick one. Somebody told me, if it's meant to, it will be. If not, then say la vie. So that was one that I'm like, if I'm auditioning for a job, I'm like, if I'm meant to get it, I'll get it, even if the audition sucks. If it's meant to be my job, it's meant to be my job. I can have a great audition, but if it's meant to go to somebody else, their essence is the one that's right for the job, then I gotta let it go. So that's probably what I try to remind myself every day, because otherwise I'll go crazy.
Yeah, or they're a celebrity.
That too.
Yeah.
But it's meant for them.
Yeah. Oh God, I saw this somewhere in like one of those like quote. It's like a white box with black letters and like a flower at the bottom or something. Yeah, quotes that you see on Tumblr and stuff. And it's something that I see a lot. And I think even Tyler from Voltron tweeted this. Maybe it was like, feel the fear and do it anyway. And it's, it's a simple, almost silly thing, but it's like, that's true. There's so many things where it's like, yeah, I mean, even this, like going to a panel can be terrifying, but it's like, but it's fun. You just gotta do it, and it's not as scary as it is in your head. So I think of that quote because there's so many times like, this is so scary, but I gotta do it.
These people are very nice.
No, not you guys. You guys are fine. This is wonderful. Other things though can be a little scary.
Let's see, a quote. Actually, I can think of one. This is a quote. It's from a playwright, a Canadian playwright named Stuart Lemoyne. I guess it applies more to theater acting, but his quote was, if I'm getting it right, I suppose that restraint is a good quality to possess in everyday life, but it's always struck me as an odd thing to put in front of a paying audience.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So his sort of, go big.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I don't necessarily have one direct quote that I live by, but a lot of the things that have inspired me throughout the years and have kept me just positive about this industry, because there is a ton of rejection and can be very heartbreaking, are just little things, just little nuggets of affirmation that my mom has given me over the years, and a lot of them are just led by passion. It's like, if you're passionate about something and you're not chasing something due to the fame or the money or success, and it actually is led by a true dedicated passion, you will succeed. And to me, that's really important to remember.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for things that other people said.
I think we're ready for Q&A.
Hooray!
Oh. We have a mic right over here.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, so unless you are in the front rows, you should come up here to ask your question. Otherwise, I'll bring it to you in the front row because that is our section. So if you'd like to ask a question, please come up to the mic now.
Here we go. I think we'll put you on the mic anyway because just so everyone can hear.
We're ready to kick our asses.
All right. So, good question I have for you guys, and thank you for coming. I enjoy y'all's company. Thank you for your input. Regarding voice acting classes in the local Atlanta area or LA area, are you familiar with any high quality or anybody that you would like to endorse or speak of?
Well, I'm not sure if any of us are local to Atlanta.
I know Amanda MC Miller, who will be on the Sailor Moon panel with me later. She's Sailor Jupiter. She bounces back between LA and Atlanta. She would probably know some classes in Atlanta for voiceover. I would just say take any and all acting classes, like cold reading classes, film and TV classes, theater classes, because we're all actors first.
And actually, speaking specifically of Atlanta, I always recommend improv as a really valuable tool for any branch of acting. And here in Atlanta, you guys have a fantastic improv theater, Dad's Garage Theater. And I've worked with them in the past, and they do teach classes. They're brilliant teachers. So yeah, Dad's Garage would have my highest recommendation.
That's awesome.
And then I guess while I still have the microphone, Regarding setting up your own studio or sound studio, do you have any recommendations about how to, or what you would look for?
Mine's a closet, so...
Mine is too.
Yeah, they mostly are. Mostly are.
Closet with a bunch of cheap foam and like a moving blanket.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've recorded entire video games in there, so it really doesn't take much.
Also, I have an iPhone and a little cheap mic that plugs into it in a twisted way when I'm on the road.
And that works. That
I
works.
set up a little pillow fort, like a 5-year-old, put a blanket over my head, and that's what I record. Last night I had to record something, so that works too when you're in a pinch.
Cool. Thanks, Cherami. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Mark.
I have one for acting classes in Atlanta at Clayton State University. They have a voice acting certification class
That's awesome.
with Vincent Bailey. So if you look up Clayton State University voice acting, you'll find it there.
Vincent Bailey.
What a
You get
fantastic-
certified?
That's amazing.
Yes,
I am a voice
certified.
actor. You have a certificate? That's cool.
Well, the certificate is a commemorative coffee mug, but yes.
Okay. I love coffee.
This is a statement, but as this is part of the animation track, and anime and video games, we have different voice actors, so we actually are doing charity. Jared Carr's official charity this year is slipping my mind right now, because it's very long. American Heart Association, I should have asked somebody nearby who knew. American Heart Association, thank you. And Jared Card is matching up to $100,000 of that.
That's
Wow.
fantastic.
So far in our room downstairs, pretty sure we're up to $100, and this is the first day that we've passed it around. So I'm just going to pass it through like Baptist church style, and then and at the end we'll also have trivia for a little giveaway that I'll put up on the screen around the table with them. So thank you guys, and continue with your questions.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering, I'm a DM for a long-running D&D campaign. I was wondering if you guys had any tips for maintaining like accents and voices that don't totally feel natural.
I'm a dungeon master myself. I just did D&D in a castle in England, and it was a great time.
How could it not be?
Yeah,
That's
it's
fantastic.
basically what it sounds like. D&D in a castle. So I would say that Dungeons and Dragons was the first acting I ever did. I went to school in a small town that didn't offer drama as an option in high school. So I would say that the first improv I did, the first acting I did was Dungeons and Dragons. I always, back in the day, I would usually find impressions that I would like to do and sort of be able to differentiate the characters that way because you have a clear mental image in your head. And I wasn't that great at impressions, so my characters sort of became, rather than who I was doing the impression of, their own unique character. So that can always give you a good starting point. As far as accents, the best way to do it is just to listen to somebody doing that accent and listen to it as much as you can. And I think your players will appreciate it too, because when your NPCs are more fleshed out, then the game world is more immersive.
Yeah, just listen to as much. I make playlists of different celebrities and stuff that I have to, I mean, not necessarily accents, but sometimes, like I do Tom Holland and Chris Pratt and that kind of stuff, and I just listen to them in the car. So I sound insane being like, awesome, you know, like just repeating him over and over again. But just getting that music in your brain, like one of the reasons the Prince Lotor voice is basically Ewan McGregor in Long Way Round. Like I watched that show over and over again, and so his voice just got stuck in my head. And so just getting different accents sort of stuck in your brain, I think is really helpful. It's hard to let it go. That's the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Roll 20s.
Hi guys, I have a background in radio and television, but I've never done any formal acting. And I've been looking into voice acting for a while and was wondering if you had any advice on getting into voice acting or if location mattered and some things like that.
The worst person.
I think if you want to do dubbing, location definitely matters. If you're dubbing for, I guess for anime or even localized video games, and doing ADR live action series for Netflix or whatever else, there's usually production houses that specialize in that, and they're in LA, Canada, New York a little bit, Texas, and then I think that's basically it. So location matters for that. But with Source Connect and Voice Bank and things being done with home studios, just for doing regular voice acting commercials and things like that, I think it's less of an issue, but certainly if you book a job, if you're working on a video game and they want you to record in-house, it would be on you to fly out to do that. And I think that was one of the things I was doing when I was living in Texas, is I was flying out to New York or flying out to LA or wherever the case was, so I had to record in the studio. I would just say take acting classes, jump into doing, like you said, improv or community theater, anything like that, to work on creating characters, since you have the technique and the awareness from radio with mic technique. That wouldn't be your concern. It would be just like getting comfortable creating characters and living in a scene and all that stuff.
Making a good reel. I think that's one of the biggest, because that's your calling card, is getting a good 60-second reel and a bunch of diverse characters on it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people kind of forget about, and it's such a huge step, is if you can show people like, look, this is me, and they don't all sound like the same person. Agents and stuff go, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hi.
Hello.
Once you discover and find a character voice, what are the tips or tricks or professional methodologies that you use to hit that same character voice over time through a series, etc., so that you maintain that consistency and the director doesn't look at you sideways?
Well, that's to be, you want to avoid that. But I, in my experience, I would often just have my recording from the last session played for me when I went into the booth, just so I can make sure that I'm in the same headspace and hitting the same notes.
Yeah.
Same. I'll also keep like a log on my phone of certain things that maybe my character does, like a certain scream or something I do that I'm like, oh wow, that really works. I want to bank that so I know I can do it for the future, and I'll keep like a little voice note on my phone. It's just all like catchphrases or all like Stefaniisms. But I think it's important to like keep a log, and also not only that, but the thing I really rely on is sleeping on it. Like I'll literally play something until I fall asleep, so that the next morning when I'm ready for a session, I feel like super locked into what I literally listen to until nighttime.
I also, I love music, and when I'm stuck in traffic in LA, sometimes I'm sitting in traffic for an hour and a half, I have playlists for characters so that I'm like, this is a song they would listen to, and then when I'm heading to that session, I'm like, feeling like that. Because I feel like music is a soundtrack for our lives as well as like the characters that we play, and they would have a soundtrack for their lives as well, and music, and for me, it informs so much of the performance, and we're not hearing any of that beautiful music while we're working. That comes much later. So that's something that I like to do, and then the reference with the magical engineer is really, really great. A lot of help. But also knowing that as long as you're playing a character, if you're playing it for years and years, that reference is going to evolve over time, because the character has evolved over time, and their emotional trials and tribulations will change the way that the voice sounds or how big the range is. So making sure those references are recent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So my question is, what is the audition process compared to being a first-timer versus like a veteran with a pedigree? Do they test you differently? Do they give you different things? Like I imagine that if you have a good backlog, that they would probably have an idea of what you sound like. So is there any differentiation, or do they just treat everyone pretty much the same?
Yeah, I'd say, once I became known for, say, Mass Effect and whatnot, I didn't have to audition as much as I used to. People would just call and say, we want to give you this job. Do you want to do the job? I'd say, yes, I would like the job. So yeah, I guess, there is that factor, certainly. But I'm not sure if, if you were just, walking in cold for something, if it's necessarily that different. Because you might be competing with other people who are equally well known. So I wouldn't say that the nature of the audition changes that much. So it's just that sometimes you just get offered jobs without having to audition.
Yeah.
You basically said it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Hello there. So my question is I have a wide range of voices, and my friends kind of hate me because I can sound like several different people. So every time I get a new phone, I'll just start talking to them in a completely different voice, and not even realize that it's me. But
Why would they hate that?
Mostly my mother, because even my mother won't recognize half my voices sometimes. But for that part, like, you know you kind of have that character specifically for the audition, like how do you kind of really narrow in that character that you're trying to rein in for that specific part?
Sometimes you don't. I mean, I've sent in multiple takes where I'm like, I don't know, it's a purple dragon that crafts bubbles, Scottish, I don't, you know. So, yeah.
Scottish is a good choice.
So sometimes we'll send in multiple takes. They don't usually love that, but usually I go with what would I enjoy doing the most, and that's usually the things that I will book is the one where I go, God, this is fun. And so that's kind of what I go with, unless, again, it's a dragon that crafts bubbles I don't know anything about.
And a lot of times I do think it's instinct. Like, we've all been doing this for a fair amount of time, and I feel like you read a breakdown and you read the scene, and you're not necessarily given a ton of material off the bat, but you have enough to play with your Rolodex of like, what do I think is kind of your strongest pairing with this character? And then from there, you hope it's a win, and if it's not, that's all right, you move on to the next. But a lot of times, too, things are sometimes built off a remake. So it's like, you're playing the younger version of a Sesame Street character or a fill in the blank character. And you're like, oh, I gotta go back and really kind of look at what that original actor did and then make it my own, but there's something I can go off of. So I like the remake stuff, because it's already kind of built for you, which is fun.
And I've been lucky enough that a lot of the times I've had the director and or the writer in the room with me when we're running through things, and it's basically then you rely on them. It's like, what do you guys feel is the best direction to go in, and then you can refine it from there with their help.
Yeah, I think as human beings, you don't want to be told that you're wrong, but as actors and in any creative field, you have to be okay with being told that you're wrong. So you try to play it safe. Yeah, if you try to play it safe, then they don't know where to, like you said, if the writer and director are there, you got to give like a big, bold choice so they can say, ooh, love that, let's take this down, and they can actually mold the character they want. If you just go, I think this is what they're looking for, I'm just going to play it safe. If you're not exactly right, sometimes they're like, all right, well, thanks for coming in, and you like miss the job because you didn't go big.
And sometimes you book the ones where you go, I don't know.
All the time.
Yeah, those are actually probably the ones I book the most, where I'm just like,
I have no idea what they're looking for.
So here's the most random crap I could think of, and they're like, we love what you did, it was very unique. It's like, because I didn't know what to do. Yeah.
So we're stumbling in the dark closet with the padded walls going, what is happening?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. One small thing. Could you say, I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite con?
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite con on the Citadel. And you know, I give that endorsement a lot for any number of things that I don't actually care about. But Dragon Con is actually my favorite con.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, he was saying that back there.
I know. I tell everybody.
Yeah.
Hello. So I just want to thank all of y'all for being amazing inspirations to us upcoming voice actors and D&D nerds all alike. And I've personally been trying to become and get the demo going and trying to find and practice. And I've asked my parents, hey, I need to go into the closet to record just to get that practice. Is there anything that you guys professionally would recommend for a younger age voice actor trying to make their voice known?
I think somebody from one of the larger centers is probably better equipped to handle that, because when I got into voice acting, I went to one big cattle call audition in the late 90s, and then BioWare just kept hiring me. And then I eventually got to be the lead in the game. So yeah, that's probably not the best career plan for everybody. It's like, okay, just attend an audition in 1998 and you're set. So
no, I think that's perfect though. I mean, like going and not being afraid to go into a cattle call, not sitting around and waiting for like, oh, I would love to be on this show. I'm gonna wait till there's an audition for that show. Like, go to a theater, do plays in a small theater that you're like, there's only 20 seats in the house. Well, you don't know who's going to be there. You guys live in Atlanta. You don't know what Marvel show is recording that somebody's going to be like, oh, I'd love to go see a piece of theater today, and this theater's right up the street. You don't know. So not being afraid to judge what opportunities come your way and saying like, God, is this a building block? If it's an interesting character, if it's people that you want to work with, even if it's not paying anything and you have another job that's paying your bills, take the time to go out and create and make relationships so that people will hire you for a huge game because they know you and think you're awesome.
You have, I mean, just one thing to add is the internet is, everyone says this, and it's hard to be, to stand out amidst all the noise. But if you can find something that's unique about your voice or what you offer, if you do some very weird impression, not just like 100 impressions in 1 minute, which nobody wants to see, honestly. Sorry, people that have done it. But agents don't want to see it. Nobody wants to see like, and here's my Peter Griffin. It's like, we don't care. Like, find something that's
Peter Griffin's been done.
We can just hire Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah. It's done. But if you have something unique about your voice, or even if you do a celebrity that's like really weird or obscure, like for me, I was lucky that like nobody at the time was doing Michael J. Fox. And so it was like, oh, strange, we'll hire him. Like, find what's sort of unique about your vocal qualities and put it out there. And, it might not get a lot of views, but it might catch the attention of an agent. And that's actually how I started doing Han Solo stuff, is a friend of a friend of a friend sent it to Lucasfilm, and then it was just, it had like 100 views. And it was there, it was quantifiable. And so people went, cool, like we can use that. So yeah, just get your stuff out there if you're passionate about it.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So speaking of impressions, are there some impressions that come naturally or easily for you guys, and maybe some that you have to really work at and really try to nail it down, and maybe even some that no matter how hard you try, you just don't think you can get right?
I can't do Donald Duck. I'm driving my dog crazy by being like, and that's all I got. It's close. I can't say words. It's so hard.
You've all tried it, I'm sure.
Oh, it's so painful.
Be a non-verbal Donald Duck.
Yeah.
He's
just constantly in pain. Maybe Donald having an aneurysm out there.
I can see that being a viable plotline. I'm speaking for myself. The few impressions that I actually do are all super obscure, like Paul Lynde, who's like a comedian from the 70s.
I love that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. People, Alice in Wonderland, or sorry, Charlotte's Web fans. Let's see, who else? Hunter S. Thompson. And Gilbert Gottfried is probably the closest one. But yeah, I don't have a wide range of impressions. I can do crappy versions of the impressions that everybody can do. Although actually one thing that you've probably heard before is that once you've seen someone who's very good at impressions do an impression, then you have the key of how to do that impression. It's suddenly like, oh yeah, now I know what path to walk down to at least try to do a facsimile of.
You gotta find the hook. Like, for me, I had one of my friends for, what's it called? I can't remember the name of the game, but they had a mode where it was all Jeff Goldblums. 30 Flights 11, I think that's the name of the game. And my buddy just called me. He's like, "Can you do a Jeff Goldblum?" I was like, "Can you give me like a day to figure that out?" And so, and it's just I just watched a bunch of interviews, and he's like, "Oh, all right." And he goes, "Sure, there's some cars out in Zuber in the other end." And just getting his mannerisms and the way he touches things and all that stuff. But it didn't come easy. It wasn't something I'd ever done before. But for me, Marty McFly was something that I used to break into when I was in high school because my voice was a lot squeakier. I'd be like, "Whoa, wait a minute, Doc, are you telling me that there's?" So that was something that just came naturally, and it was fairly effortless when I finally got to do it. But every impression's like I brought Chris Pratt is one that I do a lot, and I do like all his Lego stuff, and I did not think I could do that because he's not someone that I'm familiar with. And so I had to spend a lot of time, like I said before, listening to him, because that's not, if you think about his voice, what do you hear? A guy, so I had to really listen to his weird little hooks and like, oh yeah, cool, that's totally awesome, and like all that sort of stuff. And some you just really got to work at, and others are just already naturally there, so yeah.
I think voice matches and impressions are so hard, and it is so difficult for me to do, and I think there's some people that are just fantastic at voice matches, and other people like me that just, I'm not great at voice matches or impressions. Usually I love listening to people and then being inspired by what they do, and then it morphs into like, oh, I feel like I took this bit from this character and this bit from this character, and now we have like united characters like living in one voice. But it's really hard for me to completely mimic someone's performance.
It's very hard for me too. It's weird, like I have a good ear for how a voice like shifts and how like the undulation of a voice, because I'm a musician, so I understand notes. So when I hear like an accent, I can really wrap my head around that. But when it comes to matching a voice in regards to like their tone, that's really hard for me. And I think it's also because, which is a bad excuse maybe, but I also have like a rasp in my voice that I can't get rid of. So if the person doesn't have that, it's kind of like, oh gosh, I don't know how to cut that back. I speak with so much air, I blow a candle out from here. So, you know, it's like, I don't know how to, so I've had, for years, I've had to work on like speaking with less air in order to tap into other voice characters. But to do a direct match with people is very hard for me. I can do like Mrs. Doubtfire, that's about it. It's not good.
What does that sound like? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I want to hear Mrs. Like, hey,
oh, dearie. Oh, dearie. That's about it.
This is a really weird thing, but for me, because I do a lot of voice matching, and the most helpful thing ever was learning to tune a guitar. I don't play guitar. Learning to tune a guitar by ear and getting to learn notes, because so much of when you're doing an impression is notes. And you're just learning, like I'll do a lot of humming when I get because I get a lot of voice match auditions, and I'll hum through their lines to get the right, and it's very weird, but it works. So, yeah. Something to
by the way, I'm learning so much from you. Sorry if I'm not chiming in as much, but I'm also like, oh my gosh, you guys have all three of you have so much to just give, knowledge-wise. I'm blown away.
Well, I think that's what's interesting about voice actors, and actors in general. Everybody's path is totally different. So when people say, what do I do to get to where you are? It's like, well, all of our paths are completely different, and we all ended up on this strange journey together, and no path was wrong. They all worked out. So it's like you hear from other people's experiences and that wasn't yours, and you're like, oh, that's helpful. Wow, I can use that too. Thanks.
Yeah, for any branch of acting, work on your pretending. It's supposed to be pretending.
Yeah,
it's pretending. That's what we do.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Hey, Lucy. My question actually is for you.
Okay.
So despite my costume, Lucy actually is my favorite character.
Yeah.
So I know in some ways voice actors become their characters, and in some ways their characters become the voice actors. I was kind of wondering, in what ways are you Lucy, and what ways are you not, like in everyday life?
I don't have keys that unlock magical spirits, unfortunately. I wish I did. I also don't have a clock that will carry me around when I want to walk anywhere, which would be nice. That would be helpful. But I think I didn't initially audition for Lucy because I thought the character was really cool, and I really wanted to work on the show. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this job, and it's just going to hurt so much to play it for 5 minutes and then not get the job. And so my audition was just me talking about how much I'd really like to work on the show and arguing with the director, which is why Lucy's voice is my voice. But in working on the show, I've played the character for almost a decade now. And some of the things that have happened to Lucy in the show have informed my life. The scene with her dad, where she says, I'm not taking any money from you anymore, and I don't care what you want. I'm living my dream, and this is what I want. And I want to be a part of Fairy Tale. That was what made me make the jump to move out to LA. Because I said, if I'm playing a character who is so strong and so confident in what she believes, and she's willing to take a risk and bet it all on herself and her dream, then I'm a hypocrite if I don't do the same. And I've had multiple moments with all of my characters, but certainly with Lucy, because I've played her for almost a decade. So I don't know if she's informing my life or our lives are just kind of merging into one, but she definitely has been very, very important to me. I'm glad you joined me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. My question is for the guys. I teach performing arts. I teach performing arts to 6th and 7th graders. And I do a lot of drama stuff with my 4th and 5th graders as well. And I have a lot of boys who are just really great and they're really passionate about it. But a lot of the time that's discouraged, especially in 6th and 7th grade where sports are cool and sports are great, but drama's great too.
Sports suck.
Yeah, sports are not cool. Sports are not cool.
It's all about the art.
Yeah. This is Dragon Con. We will have no talk of sports ball. But no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Are there any words that you would say to a 11, 12, 13-year-old boy who maybe just wants to act and wants to do something on stage or on film, but just...
Show them Hugh Jackman. Yeah. watching Hugh Jackman be like, all right, bub, and then be like, I'm a prince. You're just like, this is incredible. I mean, honestly, him just a wacky inflatable tube man. I mean, for me, I never grew up super masculine. My family was very rigid about masculinity and wanted me to be this like tough guy, and they were very worried about me being not into sports and not, and so, but the people I always gravitated towards were, as I got older, Hugh Jackman and Ewan McGregor and what's his name from Lawrence of Arabia, like Peter O'Toole, and like guys that I'm like, oh, cool. You don't need to be this beefcake man who just has no emotions. Showing them people, like Tom Holland, who's such a wonderful combination of sweet and yet confident, and just showing them examples. I think for me was something that helped a lot. I still have my own struggles where I was just like, my family's gonna judge me, but yeah, just show them all Hugh Jackman.
And as a segue, watch for AJ's new cartoon, Beefcake Man.
I'll be doing a lot of this.
I'm so excited. Is it a musical?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've got beef, so much beef. Did that help at all? Yeah.
Totally. I'm so ready to write songs about beef.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
First of all, Cherami, thank you for your excellent work in here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So the question I have is regarding vocal health, because that's obviously a voice actor's most important tool. What recommendations do you have for those aspiring voice actors in regards to how to improve their vocal health and at the same time improve their vocal capabilities to do things that might otherwise damage their voice, like putting on a constant rasp when I can't normally do that?
Whiskey and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think singing lessons for a voice actor are incredibly important. Just in regards to figuring out control of breath, your diaphragm, exactly where you place your voice, the part where it gets dangerous, where you're like, no, if I scream that way, I'm going to lose my voice in the booth, and I'm going to have nothing to give the next day. I mean, I've had to learn so much about vocal health because as a kid, I'd lose my voice constantly. So if I was a voice actor 10, 15 years ago, I would never be hired because I wasn't someone you could rely on. Now it's like my sleep is extremely important to me for vocal health. The amount of throat coat that I drink in a session is very important. Things that are literally that simple, but also my vocal warm-ups. I do vocal warm-up tapes to Roger Love every day before I go into a booth. If you guys don't know who he is, you should look him up. Incredible voice teacher. You can literally just buy his CD online. Or I guess maybe get Playlist because CDs don't matter now. But they're going to always matter to me.
I agree.
But I just pop in vocal warm-ups before every session, and I just kind of just go at it for a half hour to really warm myself up before I go on.
There's great apps now. There's a guy who, James Arnold Taylor, lost his voice. He's voiced Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars cartoons and just everything else. And he got black mold, infestation. He breathed a bunch of black mold, lost his voice for... That's terrible. Yeah, it's horrifying. I mean, his voice is his whole life. And he told this amazing story about, he went to a guy named Gary Katona who teaches these vocal warm-ups that I use them. I had lost my voice because of a couple sessions, and he's got an app, basically, this guy, Gary Katona. You can try it. I think it's free, and it was awesome. And it basically is just some terrifying CG head going, and you just go along with it, and it's something that I do before sessions and after sessions, and you got to warm up. It's like stretching. It is stretching.
Yeah. And I think if it's something that you're not used to, or like you said, a rasp that you can't maintain, it's like a muscle. Stretch a little bit at a time, and then kill it, stop, and then stretch a little bit at a time to just get the muscle more comfortable, and your range will expand as you are stretching it a little bit at a time. It's like, you're not going to go into a dance class and be like, I can do what Hugh Jackman does. Watch me.
I am a prince.
You are. Yeah, that's terrible. So
and thank you all for coming to the Hugh Jackman panel.
Yeah.
Discussing all aspects of Hugh Jackman.
In a hail of glitter.
And adamantium.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink a lot of water, and sometimes you just have to be quiet. You just will have to not talk, and you'll have to have friends and family around, and when they say, just talk, just say one word to me. No, I will not talk to you.
Yeah.
I have a shirt that says, I can't talk right now. I'm a little horse, and it's got a little tiny horse on it. That's my vocal rest t-shirt.
And also, as silly as it sounds, like learn to say no to things. Like, I won't go, if I have a session in the morning, I won't go to a dinner late at night. Or I won't go to a party or anywhere I know that I have to give too much of my voice for.
And as much of a, I know everybody hates it, but I think it's really important to be, to work out, because that helps with your lung capacity. And that will help with screaming and not, you're using your lungs rather than stressing your voice.
Get them in reps. Yeah.
Get on the reps.
Do them squats.
Yeah, exactly.
This is sounding like sports to me again.
Yeah, let's talk about Hugh Jackman.
You don't think Hugh Jackman gets his reps in?
Clearly.
It merges in the magical combination that is Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. You know he works out.
You know he does.
It's natural. Hey, you have a question.
We have 5 minutes. If we can rapid fire the questions, I do want to make sure that everyone gets through their questions.
Yeah, make it about Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is everyone can ask a question to one of you, and then we'll just have one answer for whoever they choose to answer the question. All right?
Alright, question for Mark. I was wondering if you had any difficult roles, and if you did, how did you overcome those difficulties?
Difficult roles. Vocally speaking, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Vorcha in the Mass Effect trilogy. So the Vorcha are this weird sort of screechy space orc alien race, and they basically came to me and said, okay, we want you to, I did a bunch of aliens as well as Shepard, so we want you to voice this Vorcha. So I did, and I didn't use any of the techniques that anyone was talking about. I just screeched as hard as I could with a mouth half full of water in the booth, and just sort of treated my voice terribly. Then they subsequently came back and went, yeah, listen, we like what you did for the Vorcha, but we don't want to have to ask any other actor to do that, because no other actor who has any sense would. So I ended up being all the Vorcha in the Mass Effect universe. Anytime you see a Vorcha, it's me.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
How many are there?
That actually have speaking role, there's probably at least half a dozen. You see a bunch more, and then there's background noise and stuff like that. But again, they would save, when we were recording the Mass Effect trilogy, any Vorcha stuff would be saved for the last thing we did on a Friday. So that would give me the entire weekend to recover from it. Don't do Vorcha. Don't do Vorcha. But they were incredibly fun to do. So yeah, that was a difficult role, and I overcame it by just doing the stupidest thing possible. Yeah, just screeching my way through it.
You solidified a role for yourself.
Yeah, it worked out.
Hello, this is a question for Cherami. You mentioned earlier that one time for a recording session you had to throw a blanket over your head in a car and just plug a microphone in your iPhone to record your voice.
Yeah.
Are there any preferred audio brands or headphones or whatever you prefer to use for your voice acting?
I just have my iPhone, and I have a Sennheiser mic that Radio Disney has me use. Okay. And I just plug that in and use Twisted Wave on my phone, and then I'll MP3 it out. I had to send an audition at the airport on the way here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Since I have to ask one, AJ.
Hey! This one?
Yes.
Okay, wearing sunglasses. Sorry, other AJ.
It's okay. It's all right.
So I don't know if you've ever had, if you had other jobs before voice acting, but at what point did you decide that, what was the tipping point where you decided this was going to be more of a full-time career and
I got fired.
Simple.
Yeah, I was working as an editor at Game Trailers, the RIP Game Trailers, and they just laid us all off at the same time. And thankfully, shortly after that, I got on a show called Dawn of the Cruise, and I was like, okay, this isn't a lot of money, but I'd rather do this than be an editor. So that was sort of the long fall, and then trying to build my way up.
Do you have any fail-safes?
Nope.
Caution to the wind.
Yeah, basically.
Also, black sheep in a sports family, I get you. I understand.
I guess for Mark, do you, since it's sort of a digital format, do you think how important is your home city to getting into this industry, and do you see the Atlanta market growing alongside the film and TV industry here?
Well, I mean, my home city is Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is way far up north and a bit of a northern outpost. So, I mean, somehow I managed to get a gig where now I can go to cons and be a guest. So, yeah, I couldn't necessarily speak to the situation in Atlanta, and to be honest, I'm like amazed that I somehow managed to make a career while still living in Edmonton. I do travel a lot, but that is still my home base, and it does help that BioWare and Deep Dog are both based out of Edmonton. But again, these days you can work from almost anywhere. It's a matter of getting your foot in the door, and then being able to live wherever you want.
Thanks.
Hello. I just want to say that Stefani is my favorite character. So Maya's favorite AJ. What's your favorite ship in Steam Room?
Don't do it. I've been down this road. Learn early.
I mean,
Don't crucify me.
that's really hard.
Millennium Falcon.
You mean ship as in relationship?
Yes.
Because at first I was like, ship? Like spaceship? I was like, I don't even know how to answer that.
Like Ruth Fire and Converse.
I think probably Connie and Steve Madden. Yeah. I know it's kind of a cliche answer, but they're the two. They're the OG, and I love them. And they create me, so. It's gotta be my favorite ship, otherwise I wouldn't exist.
What's their ship name?
Most people usually call it Stefani, but that's the fusion. So I usually just call it Converse.
Converse. Oh, you said that earlier. Converse. That's adorable. I love that. Thank you so much.
Converse should make
That's adorable.
So thanks everybody. I'm going to let Shanice kind of like talk the last bit of it, but I wanted to do I said we do trivia. I didn't want to not
Bye,
do trivia.
Spider-Man. Sorry, Spider-Man's leaving. It's pizza time.
So
Get me some pictures of Peter Parker.
Because our box is full of donations, thank you everybody. It is like I'm inside the counter, so thank you everybody.
Well done, folks.
So rapid fire, I have two questions after doing the gifts. First question is, what is the language that Rainicorn speaks?
We got one right there. Right there.
Yeah, I was like.
Basic, you get a prize. These are kind of relative to the prizes.
Can we answer?
No. You cannot. Second question is, what is Sailor Venus's Japanese name?
There.
Yes, you get two. Awesome. You get the prize. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody for coming here, and for those who are in Atlanta, there's a great marketing, acting with Marvel and Fox filming down here in Georgia State, doing a motion capture class. Ooh, fun. So I'm Shanice Turner, known as Shanice Speaks, and I want to thank our luxurious cast. Thank you, Mark, AJ, Cherami, and AJ. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy driving guys.
And thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
It was. Questions that are not typically asked.
Oh no, that was great. Thank you very much. Well done. Thanks, folks.
Shanice, a question for you. So I've been really interested in motion capture, and I've been heard about the class, but I haven't heard anything of it. Do you know any more?
Good birthday. Oh, really? So you know Jimmy?
That's all I've heard. I'm just like, I can't wait.
Tell you what, what's your Insta? Do you have like a GC range? I mean, I'm 11-7. Yeah, let's do that. That way, if you do the mocap thing, I can
I've been so interested in that because there's not very many motion capture courses anywhere. So
with Vincent Bailey, yeah.
have done things with you, and that's why I got you, especially here in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's like really helpful. Yeah.
I was like, wait, I'm not going to.
No. Boy, it's really nice.
And I was like,
Yeah, no, like you're really helpful because like you're like some famous person. I've got to get away from the crowd. Like just a normal person I can talk to about it.
See, Serial alumni with
Excuse me.
you know Keith Sims over in the acting course and acting school?
Yeah, do you want it?
I did a play for him.
Stages.
Just trash.
Oh. Sometimes they're like, no, you can't have these. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's because they have like
Well, you get the commercials from
the information on the back. I was like, I'm pretty sure. No, I like trash.
sometimes
I understand. I have to.
Well, I know. I've had some friends just like get 1 cent in the mail and they're like, why did you send me 1 cent?
So Shanice, right?
Frank.
Shanice Street.
Thank you. Well, perfect.
Right? Well, it happened.
Great, but things happen.
I was just gonna say the same thing. You did a great job. And if you ever use the boxes that you pass around, it has American Heart Association.
Yeah, that's what I was like. When we were in the room, I felt a little embarrassed because I was like,
No, it's
all the
okay.
numbers, all the things are happening.
You have so much information.
I wanted it, a lot of that wasn't. It also
It's been drilled into like
everyone. I should have like the.
Well, I've been to like the direct meetings and stuff. So. Yeah.
Did you see it? I'm like that.
And I mean, it was cool seeing like.
Not like asking too much uncomfortable questions, but I feel like they did, especially voice acting, I think like the questions that are already. I'm like.
That's why I was
like. You gotta take a moment to think.
They were all really good questions, and I think they all had some of them too.
Thank you so much.
And I mean, it was cool. AJ got to learn from everybody else, and all of us did. So.
And I think all people learned about who act like AJ would question like how much he actually does. Because it was surprising to me because I was like,
I didn't know I was like,
and I was just like,
right? I didn't know that he voice matched or whatever that. I just knew the voice match.
oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
That was, I think that's what was happening. He's on one more for the Sean Campbell. Are you? No.
I'm with you on all of
I think you're QA now. Yeah. Because I don't know that I'm actually not on the QA with Ryan.
How did you get into the questions?
Renee, I started volunteering with Renee.
Probably 4 years ago.
4 years ago, and I've always been interested in voice acting, and we're able to like interview voice actors, and that's when I was able to sit and just observe and watch, and I listened to it, I watched it.
Yeah, that's why I never get asked a question. It's also hard to stop people from asking questions. It's like
a lot of the questions are like underground, so it's like let's just get it really fast through, but it's like more of the feeling of having that conversation and that connection. So that's why they don't ask anything too crazy. That's all it's like, right? But also to kind of answer your question, yeah. So for this specifically, we volunteered with like our track. So each track panel, department track has volunteers. And I'm assistant director for this thing. We did more. We had a group of people who needed volunteers. We more volunteers. Who needed volunteers who were able to like lead panels and stuff like that. There's a lot that were just kind of like but we only had like 7 spots. They only gave us so many. So when we had a slot open, because she worked with me before MomoCon, I was like, yeah, you were a great fit. So I would actually start with maybe MomoCon. Are you local in Atlanta?
I'm not local in Atlanta, but I was thinking I
haven't been to many cons recently, well, in general, but I was thinking about volunteering for my local one in Birmingham, Alabama. And I wanted to, it's called that was my first one ever going to, and I was thinking next year I would try and get more into the volunteer center, but I didn't know, well, I know I can just go online and apply, but
They also, at the volunteer meetings, starting like the very first one, they'll announce it on their DragonCon Twitter, and then you'll normally see if who needs volunteers, and you can reach out directly to each volunteer department.
Honestly, the fan track for DragonCon should start because if you're interested in moderating, yes, like we host panels specifically with usually guests or professionals, and so that kind of gives you that practice, whether you're just sitting and doing QA or actually asking the questions. If you're working with other cons, I would say either content management, a moderating team if you have one, a moderating team, or just hosting panels yourself sometimes if you have a topic that you feel very strongly about. Practice by submitting those panels, and then if you have like friends or someone else that you want to be on it, so you're moderating yourself, and then get those question things going for the future. If you have an outlet, you may even want to try like media relations or something like that. But if you don't have an outlet, like some content management, you can sit into the panel, you volunteer, you sit in the panels, you see what they're discussing, and you can kind of make notes of it yourself. Running your own panel, moderate yourself, and then if spots do open on other fan panels, let them know that you're interested and try to get in on that. But again, I think it's always good to, if you can't get into the panel area you want, host your own, so that you get the speaking and the Q&A part of the panel. So that's kind of like the best ways to do it. Like I said, I will give you my card for MomoCon because if you are interested in media relations, like join that department. We don't do as much interviewing. There's some moderating.
I think I want to be more, not like specifically moderating, I just love this environment. I just want to be a part.
I mean, there's so many, there's so many different, I'm a DragonCon store volunteer, but we're like, there's everything that you can possibly think of.
Yeah, if you have a passion for any level of things, like if you, tech, if you're
like
tech,
there's tech, there's
I'm on Instagram and stuff too. Yeah, like if you do Renee Cooper MomoCon, or maybe Renee Cooper Time, I don't know.
Whichever
no,
way.
there's like a bunch of Renee Coopers in Atlanta, but PGCon Princess, I always call myself the Con Princess in PG because it's Atlanta. But any of those ways you can find me.
I know that tell the voice actor if they could give people like a candle. I mean, I should write it down.
Yeah, it's hard because when you're in the moment and
also,
that's why you see me right now. Yes, and then I'm like.
But you always learn something for the next one too.
You do.
Yeah. You just take it over to the next one.
That's
Yeah.
If
you know their name, you can just type it into Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, thank you for your time. You guys have a great day, okay?
You too, enjoy your con. Alright, so I'm gonna bring the money back downstairs. And I'm going to go to
Where's a good place to get food in here? That's why I was going to ask you. I was like, if you guys are in here.
Peachtree Center.
Okay. Well, I meant in this hotel. I don't want to walk.
So you have to take the sky bridge, you go up, and you
Right.
go.
I know it is.
You're just gonna go past.
It's I can go through the Marriott, or I could literally go out the front of the Hilton, go to the parking deck, go up through the.
Yeah, that's right. There's
a bridge there. I was just trying to avoid the Peachtree Center because it's a nightmare.
Yes.
I'll probably just go to the Sheraton. That's where my next panel is.
Now, because we get lunch at 12, and it's 2
It was really bad at 12:30
but it's
time.
2.
Yeah, and the fire alarm went off. So I wanted to get. I was trying to get here by 12:30, but that was about 12:40, and I'm like,
I might just check the Sheraton because I know they have like a cafe or something. I was just curious if there was something good in this hotel.
This one?
Yeah, didn't think so.
Not unless you want to like shut down $20.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Get pizza anywhere.
That's so true.
But if you guys are looking for a good breakfast burrito, the Great Wraps place, it's in the Peachtree Center. It's Great Wraps. They normally do like the gyros and stuff, but the steak and egg burrito is
Yeah, you gotta get there first row. It's the first row from the when you come from the high, first row. But yeah.
It's so good. Like I've had it the past 3 days. It's delicious.
Question, do you know what time the parade starts?
Should be 9 or 10.
Yeah.
You know it's
That's what I need to get out of line for it. But, should start at 9. But that lineup is always like 7:30.
And they shut roads, so I get there early.
Just make sure you get to the. Just make sure you get on the shuttle by a certain time. The earlier you get on the shuttle, that means you don't have to walk all the way to wherever you're going. You're not going to want to do that.
Because they shut roads too, just so you're aware. Yeah.
I think the shuttle picks up outside of the Marriott. I'm pretty sure. So,
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, they shut roads, so just be aware that that happens.
I'm just
going anywhere.
I have to be on the shuttle. Otherwise, I'm. Is it new people? Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Oh, do you have my name tag? Did I take my name tag? I didn't take my name tag.
If I had known, because I asked if I could keep AJ's.
Someone
if I had known, I would have. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't see you.
I didn't even see it. I didn't even see it.
Wait, do you know who took them? Was it one of the handlers?
I want to keep. I hope you guys enjoy the piano.